Welcome to the first in MASSP's Summer 2018 Legislative Update Screencast series. This screencast covers the major state education policy changes that principals will want to be aware of going into the 2018-19 school year. My name is Bob Kefchin, and I am MASSP's Director of Government Relations. If you have questions about anything covered in this recording, please feel free to contact me. Our agenda for this screencast includes a handful of changes that came out of or are related to the work of the Career Pathways Alliance. That work includes everything from Michigan merit curriculum changes to new EDP requirements. Additionally, I will cover some changes in teacher credentialing requirements, a slight shift in student discipline law, some controversy over proposed social studies standards, and some long-anticipated changes to certification and evaluation policy. To begin, let's talk about changes to the Michigan merit curriculum. Principals have been aware for some time that language allowing students to substitute an additional arts course or a CTE course sequence for 1 credit of world language was set to expire beginning with the incoming 9th grade class. All that has changed. In typical fashion, the Michigan legislature passed Senate Bill 175 at the last minute to allow that flexibility to continue for another 3 graduating classes. While this change is likely coming too late for schools to adjust student schedules on a broad scale, the option does exist, and I've heard from several principals who have decided to use it. Most commonly, I'm hearing from principals who are facing difficulties in staffing or who want to make scheduling adjustments for a small group of students. Note also that beginning this year, whether they offer this flexibility or not, all schools will be required to track and report how many students utilize this option. MDE has yet to determine how districts will report this information, so stay tuned. Our next issue is specific to the middle level. Senate Bill 343 requires that beginning this school year, schools provide 7th grade students with information about in-demand careers when they put together their education development plans. Specifically, students need to be given the Department of Technology Management and Budget's regional hot jobs list. This list highlights jobs or career fields projected to be in demand and have continued growth 5 to 10 years into the future. You can find this list for your region by following the link on your screen. Schools can provide this information to students electronically. Under Senate Bill 344, schools can now offer their students the opportunity to earn a STEM endorsement on their diploma or transcript if they complete certain courses in grades 7 to 12. Specifically, this is open to students who complete 6 credits in mathematics, including a credit in calculus or pre-calculus, 6 credits in science, and a half a credit each in courses featuring significant work in technology and engineering. The new endorsement is completely optional for districts to offer. Under current law, districts already determine locally what constitutes a credit and when students have fulfilled the requirements of the Michigan merit curriculum. The same applies for determining whether students earn this new endorsement. House Bills 5141 and 5142 nominally expanded Michigan's law that allows districts to hire uncertified instructors to include teachers in CTE and industrial technology courses. Michigan has long had a permitting process that allows districts to hire individuals with industry experience to teach in their area of expertise. Those rules were adjusted last summer to allow permits to be renewed and to allow uncertified instructors to teach for a longer period of time without obtaining a teaching certificate. So rather than a shift in policy, these bills largely represent a codification of existing practice and rule. Principals should still check with MDE prior to filling a teaching position with an uncertified instructor, since the penalty to a district for employing improperly credentialed educators is a loss of state aid dollars. Beginning in 2018, substitute teachers will only need to have 60 credits or an associate's degree, down from the 90 credits required in current law. The change made by House Bill 4069 also imposes a new age requirement. Substitute teachers must now be 22 years old to work in grades 9 to 12. There's nothing schools need to do in response to this law, but districts may want to consider reviewing the terms of their contracts for substitute teaching services. For example, the 60 credit threshold is a floor, not a ceiling, so districts could impose a higher threshold for their substitutes locally. Middle-level buildings may also want to consider whether they want to impose an age limit on subs, since the lower credit threshold could result in much younger substitute teachers. State law already mandates permanent expulsion of a student who commits criminal sexual conduct in a school building or on school grounds, subject to the new 7 factors. Beginning this year, though, House Bill 5531 amended the law to also allow a school to suspend or expel a student who commits off-campus criminal sexual conduct against another student in the district. It also mandates, subject to the 7 factors, permanent expulsion of a student who pleads to, is convicted of, or is adjudicated for criminal sexual conduct against another student in the district. This is a new law, so districts may need to update their student discipline policies in response to this change. Principals will also want to make sure they're familiar with and following district policy for student discipline. If you have any doubt about how this impacts a student discipline case in your district, consult with your local legal counsel. The Michigan Supreme Court recently ruled that districts are not barred from banning guns on school property. In its majority opinion, the court said that the legislature may act to preempt these types of bans and prohibit districts from adopting local policies, but that it has not done so in this case. For principals, the bottom line is to make sure you understand and follow your district's policies when responding to a situation where someone brings a gun onto school property. Make sure that you're also communicating with your central office about their expectations and what procedures to follow. The court clearly left the door open for the legislature to take further action on this issue, so this may not be the end of the line for this debate. Expect at least some discussion and possibly legislation this fall or during the upcoming lame duck session. At this point, you have likely heard about the controversy surrounding proposed changes to Michigan social studies standards. There have been articles about the issue in a number of state and local news outlets. Whatever you think about the proposed changes, there are some things you should know if you want to get engaged in influencing the issue. Due to the sheer volume of input, MDE is holding public comment open through the end of September. You can find a great deal of information on the website mi.gov/social studies. If you choose to provide feedback, MDE has developed a survey for collecting input and is expected to schedule additional listen and learn sessions around the state in August and September. The department is urging educators to make their feedback constructive. In other words, if you have concerns about the standards, specify those concerns and suggest changes. Beginning in September, all school administrators are going to be required to hold some form of state-issued certification or permit. This is a shift for administrators who were grandparented when the administrator certification law went into effect in 2010. Those administrators will now need to obtain a new experience-based certificate through the MOEX system. The process is straightforward and the certificate is free if you apply before September. MDE and MASSP have been communicating with the field about this change for several months, so this should not be a surprise. But make sure to check out MASSP's article listed on your screen if you have any questions. Last, but certainly not least, principals have known for some time that beginning this year, student growth will count for 40% of evaluations for teachers and administrators. For teachers in tested grades and subjects, specifically 4th through 8th grade English language arts and mathematics, half of that 40% must be determined using state data. Even with these new requirements, districts still have a great deal of flexibility in handling the shift. If you're still looking for ideas on how to handle this in your district, MASSP has a number of resources on our website. Additionally, the Department of Education has developed a student growth calculator, and school data analytics provider IDEX has new tools available as well. Finally, keep in mind that it is entirely possible that the Michigan legislature could make last-minute changes to the evaluation law prior to the end of the 18-19 school year. So make sure you're not only accommodating the change to 40% growth, but have a contingency process in place for dealing with mid-year or end-of-year statutory changes. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions either about the topics covered here or other legislative issues, please do not hesitate to contact me. Also, be sure to keep a lookout for upcoming editions of our summer screencast series.